I'm James Tarkowski, and this is my memory down Sheepfoot Lane.
Tarkowski! Oh, what a terrific header!
He wants to get his head on that ball more than anybody on that football pitch.
James, how did you come to get to Boundary Park?
Well, I was there when I was very young. I was, I think I joined maybe under eights. Knew Tony Philskirk then. Came through sort of the under eights to under 11s. Tommy Wright was my coach at one point. Happened to leave to go to Blackburn for 3 or 4 years, and then one of my school teachers ended up bringing me back. Tony Philskirk knew about me already, obviously from being there at such a young age.
Oh.
So that's how it sort of came about. When I left Blackburn, I sort of lost my love for football a little bit. Went to go and play with my mates, but my teacher finally persuaded me to come back to Oldham on a trial, and ended up getting signed up a few weeks later.
Did you spend? Was that with a professional contract, or was it with just?
No, that was as an under 16. That was. I signed at the start of the under 16 season just as on a 1-year contract, and I had to wait to find out if I'd get a YTS. But I broke my leg in the under 16 season, so didn't manage to play much football until I think it was about April time. I came back and I played some games with the under 15s. Unfortunately, Tony signed me on.
Well, what influence did Tony Philskirk have on you?
Probably the biggest influence on my career, to be honest. Not just as a footballer, but as a person and my mindset to the way I wanted to live my life and be as a footballer. I'll probably admit I was a bit soft as a young age, and Tony brought that toughness out of me, and sort of a work rate where I needed to work my hardest to be the best I wanted to be. So just as much as the technical and tactical side of things, I think mentally Tony brought me on leaps and bounds from joining up to the time I left.
Yeah, I was talking to someone who worked in the academy with Tony today, and he was saying that 2 years ago they had a little bit of a look at how much money Tony had brought in, and it was well into the millions.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
Over a period of time. And also, they had a look, the 49 players playing in the Football League or the conference.
What, currently?
A lot for a small club like Oldham, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive. But as I say, you can see why. From the moment I joined, as a YTS, really, you work with Tony from a day-to-day basis. He wants to get the best out of you, and as I say, it's not all about the technical stuff and the tactical stuff. It's just as much about the mindset and the way you approach the game and being in that right frame of mind to play. And that's something which Tony was massive for me, and many other lads, as you say there.
Yeah, apparently he's a very big friend of the academy manager at Tottenham. And I remember Big Gordon saying to him one day, "Oi, is it right you're going to Tottenham?" As Gordon would. And he said, "How do you know about that?" He said, "Well, are you going?" He says, "No, I'm not. Well, there might have been some sort of talk about one time, but now he is at Burnley."
Yep.
Which was the home of youth teams at one time, wasn't it? With Gawthorpe, Paul. In fact, the youngsters used to live there, didn't they, at one time?
I didn't know that.
The 60s, yes, they did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I don't think they was with house mothers. I think they had dormitories.
I can't imagine there was many nice rooms at Gawthorpe at that time.
Well, I don't know. That might be me. That might have been a fantasy of mine, because I took a Burnley fan, Oldham one week, Burnley another week. But they did have Gawthorpe, which a lot of clubs didn't. Manchester United didn't have anything like that. It was the Cliff, which was hardly anything down in Salford. But Burnley, Bob Lloyd bought Gawthorpe Hall.
Yeah.
And But you tell me now that it's a massive training complex, isn't it?
Yeah, so from when I've joined, I used to go and play there a lot with Oldham, and the sort of changes I've seen from being there as a young kid to the place it is now is incredible. I think it cost about 10 million, the new facility they've put on there. And it's Premier League really. From what it was when I joined to where it is now, it's come on leaps and bounds, and it's sort of come right up with the times, and it's top of the range everything. And very fortunate as players. We're so well looked after. That when it's been taken away a little bit over these last few months, it's been hard to deal with really.
Yeah, well, you haven't been. Have you not? Well, you was out of the training side for a while, wasn't you? It's only recently that the Premier League's come back.
Yeah, well, little things which people say we probably take for granted, taking our own drinks in, washing our own kit, not allowed into the building to have showers, which is probably for most people just everyday things, but for us, I say we're sort of babysitted at times, so to have them luxuries taken away, it was strange, but we slowly got used to it.
Nobody there to cut your meat and your chicken up and
No, packed lunches in the car it was on the way home. But I say it sort of brought us back down to earth a little bit, and it showed that we don't actually need all these luxuries all the time, and how fortunate we are to have them.
Yeah. So you finally Paul Dickov was on one week, and he was saying he didn't have any sort of worries about giving you your full league debut. You'd come on a substitute before, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Was that against Brentford? Did you tell me? Funnily enough, that.
Yeah, it was. I think Big Trots came off with a hamstring injury, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think I came on for probably the last 10 minutes or so. Just a bit of a blur. I remember it being a night game and was under the cosh for 5-10 minutes near the end, but managed to hold out. And your first one is, I'd probably say, is the best one, but the sort of say is a bit of a blur because it sort of happened all so fast.
Yeah, but your full starting debut was at Orient.
Yep.
I can remember that because me and the big man was there that day.
Yep.
You was in those days, looking down from that bird's nest of a press box that they had.
Yeah.
5 stories up. And can you remember anything about your debut?
I can remember he played up front for Orient, which is sort of come around with a full circle. Harry Kane played centre forward.
Did he?
Yeah, he was on loan. I think it's probably his first loan from Spurs, and he played centre forward for him. I think we actually played okay that day, and then defended really well for most of it. Then they ended up scoring a strike from about 30 yards out. I think it sort of kicked up off the grass and kicked up in past Ben Amos. But overall, I think on the actual day we played quite well. Say come round full circle and end up playing against Harry Kane now recently, and seeing how he's progressed.
Yeah, well, there you go. And it's funny, you came on against Brentford. Brentford came in for you.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
didn't they?
Yeah, it wasn't the team I was expecting to go to. I sort of had an inkling that I might have to leave. We all know what money was like at Oldham, and if money comes in for a player, then often they have to sell at times to keep the club running.
Yeah,
so,
James, nothing's changed.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I had an inkling I might be leaving. There was a few sniffs from other clubs, and Brentford hadn't even been mentioned. And then suddenly one day, I think Lee Johnson pulled me in and just told me that Brentford had put an offer in, which had been accepted, and they're asking if I want to go down and speak to them. So I jumped on a train down there and went to meet the manager down there, and sort of. And from the moment I went there, I felt like it was the right place to go. A lot of young lads who sort of fitted in with my age and sort of the ambition of the club. So it was a sad time to leave Oldham, but as I say, it was necessary for the club to keep running.
Funnily enough, you signed for a very interesting manager in Mark Warburton, didn't you? Because he was from the City of London, wasn't he? Like a money dealer.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
and he did very, very well.
He was a very knowledgeable man. You could tell he'd really dedicated like so many years to learning about the game and sort of looking at ways in which you can make tiny little percentages which would work in your favour. And sports science, sports nutrition, Every little bit we could sort of get a minor gain in, he would look for it. And it showed with how well the club did in my period there, and how well it's done since I've left. I would say they're looking like they're going to get promoted at the moment.
Yeah, well, he earned them a bob or two, didn't he? By selling you for $6 million.
Yeah, he sold. I was one of few that got sold and has been sold in the last probably 5-6 years. They've made a hell of a lot of money from selling people on. In a sense, it's just a slightly bigger version of Oldham, where they have to sell players to keep the club running properly.
But they're a London club, aren't they? And they get a lot of coverage from like Capital Radio and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do. Also, they've got a lot more finances than Oldham have. But I think in terms of having to sell players to keep within the guidelines of financial fair play and to keep the club going, they're very similar. In that you sort of know there, if you're performing well enough, the club, if a club comes in with the right amount, they're going to have to sell you. And that's how it's sort of been since I was there and since I've left.
Now, what's life like at Burnley?
He's brilliant.
When they were cutting your meat up for you, shall we talk about?
Yeah. As I say, very, very fortunate to have joined the club at the time I did, and the way it's progressed in the last 4 or 5 years since I've been there has been incredible. Led by a great manager that is loved by everyone, from players to the fans, and even like the club board. I think show how much you love him, and he's been brilliant for the club. And obviously they've signed very well, and they're bringing people a lot from the Championship who've sort of come on and progressed. And it's a great time to be a Burnley fan and a Burnley player. So I say very fortunate to be a part of it, and just I'm looking forward to the future and see how it goes there.
Well, you signed a 5-year deal, didn't you, when you went?
I think it might have been 4 years with an option, and I've signed a new one. Signed a new deal a couple of years ago. Just when I broke through for the first time, because my initial 18 months there was tough. I didn't play that much. A lot of sub appearances, out of position. So initially, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. But it was always a long term thing for me, and fortunately, it's worked out over these last few years.
Yeah. So good news. Good news for you. Good news for Burnley.
Yeah, no, it's been good. As I say, the way I've progressed with the team at the same time has been perfect for me, and it's been great for my career and the way it's sort of progressed in these last few years.
Yeah, and you were called up for England.
Yeah, I was in my breakthrough season. Managed to get that call up. I'd come in and I'd picked up an injury after a few months, which wasn't ideal, but I was managing to play through with it and managed to get that call up, which was also the greatest moment in any footballer's career, to get called up for the country.
Have you just been called up to the squad once?
Sorry?
Have you just been called up to the squad once?
No, I've been to quite a few camps now. Yeah,
right.
So the first one I went on, I got my debut. That was against Italy, and then I went on. I was on standby for the World Cup. But I pulled out of the standby squad because of the injury I was carrying, so I ended up having surgery. And then since then, I've been involved in 2 or 3 more. I got my second cap against Switzerland in a friendly, and it's sort of since then I've missed probably the last 4 or 5 camps. They've gone in a different direction, but hopefully in the future I can get back in.
Yeah. So you've got 2 England caps.
I've got 2 England caps now. Yeah.
Well, that's 2 more than me. So, well done. Yeah. So you're having a great time. And how many more games have you got now?
We've got 3 more. We've got Wolves on Wednesday, or tomorrow. We've got Norwich on Saturday. Sorry, you can hear my little one. Yeah, she's come to say hello. And then I've got Norwich on Saturday, and then our final game is a week on Sunday against Brighton. So we're in a good position. We're 10th in the table, but I think we're only 4 points off 6th or 5th. 4 points off 6. So there's plenty of points to play for still, and we can definitely catch the teams above us. Yeah,
and you could get into the Europa League.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. So as I say, it's quite tight in that. I think we're 4 or 5 points ahead of the team below us, so we're sort of looking up rather than looking below us. And hopefully we can pick some points up tomorrow night against Wolves, and that will get us right in the mix into these last couple of games to try and get the Europa League spot.
right? I think you suffered a little bit last time, didn't you, when you went into the Europa League? After when you got knocked out and what have you?
Yeah, it was tough. It's tough.
A dip.
Yeah, you play. I think because we have to qualify. It's 6 Thursdays in a row you play, and one of them being away. So we beat Aberdeen in the first games over 2 legs, and then we went to Turkey, into Istanbul, and played a team over 2 legs and managed to get through that. And then we got Olympiacos in our final qualifying game. So every other week we're on a plane flying to Turkey or to Greece, staying overnight, landing at early hours Friday morning, and then having to play again on Sunday. So and a couple of times we were flying down south to, I think we played Southampton one weekend and Brighton another. So it was a lot of travelling and it was difficult. And we haven't got a massive squad, so dealing with all the travelling and games in that short space of time, it's so difficult.
Yeah, we were talking to Dean Furman about that, about Africa being such a huge continent.
Yeah.
When he went away on international duty, it were 4 matches usually that he missed.
Yeah.
Rather than 2.
I remember him going. I was on the first time he got called up. We were on the golf course, me and Dean, and we were having a game of golf, and the South African manager rang him. And obviously in them days we didn't have that many internationals in the squad, so we were still playing while he was going away playing with South Africa. Yeah,
that's right. And then when he came back, he said sometimes it was Friday before he got back into the club.
Yeah.
And playing on Saturday, and all the shapes have been sorted out, and he didn't expect to get back in. But one thing I actually thought, and I told him in the interview, it damaged us really, because we was a decent side, wasn't we?
Yeah, over the few years I was there, we had some very good, very, very good players.
Yeah.
I think obviously Dale Stevens is one that springs to mind initially, that was there for a short period, that did really well. But we had a lot of talent, people who moved on to
Robbie Simpson wasn't there as well?
Yeah, Robbie, even Big Matt Smith, who was a real handful and caused loads of problems when he played. Obviously Firms was in there. So we had talent. It was just a shame we couldn't put it all together.
And a name very similar to yours, Wesolowski.
Yeah, my mate Wezo. Yeah.
I always used to get mixed up with the pair of you,
Yeah, my mate Wezo, he was brilliant for us. He was brilliant when he was there. It was just a shame that he picked up a few injuries through time, and recently he struggled with his knees and stuff. So it's a shame his career's gone the way it has. But he was brilliant at Oldham. I think as the fans will probably back up, he was one of our most important players for a time.
Well, we'll try and get him on, actually. He's but he's well away from football now, apparently, according to Dean.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I say he struggled with his injuries. I speak to him. I do speak to him quite a lot because we're very good friends when he was there. So we try and keep in touch. And say he's gone away from football, but I think he's still happy with his life. And it's a shame his career's gone the way it has, but he sort of took it quite well, and he's moving on with things and looking forward to his future.
I can remember him circling his arm on the pitch during a warm-up, putting his shoulder back in.
Yeah, I know, his shoulders were a nightmare. He ended up wearing a bra for a full season.
Yeah, he did. He was like a windmill. He'd start with one side, then go with the other, and people would say, "What's he doing?" I said, "He's putting his shoulder back in on the field." Dear me.
Do you remember his? Remember we played Mansfield in the cup, and he broke his cheekbone.
Yeah, I actually thought they did him that day. They did.
I can't remember the game. I remember it happening. I remember just his face was just like
inside our half. It was.
Was it near the touchline, maybe?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
He was on the far side, in the press box to where it was. And I've never seen anything like that injury after the game. It was absolutely appalling.
Oh, but he still played a few weeks later, didn't he, against Liverpool?
It was like Phantom of the Opera mask, wasn't it?
With his mask on.
Yeah, with his mask on. Who is it called him? Furman called him a warrior.
He was a warrior. He's probably one of the toughest players I've played with. He could play for anything. And because I say he was unfortunate with injuries a lot of time. He picked up a lot of knocks and bangs, but nothing ever really fazed him. He'd happily just get back out on the pitch and play.
Who was your centre-back partner?
I had a few. In the first game I ever played was Ruben Hazel. To be fair, it was probably the perfect person to have beside you on that kind of day, because he taught me through the game all the way through it, and it's amazing how much someone just communicating with you throughout the whole game would help. And then Big Jean-Yves Mvoto for a while. He was an exceptional athlete. I've never seen someone head a ball like him. Him and Big Matt Smith going at it in training, trying to head the ball was something else. And then who else? I think David Mellor and Groundsy. Remember Jonathan Grounds came in for a little bit under Lee Johnson.
Did you play in the famous Liverpool-Everton games?
I played in the Everton game because Dickov got sacked, and then Tony Philskirk got in charge, and then he put me in.
Did he?
So for the Liverpool,
left Matt Smith out.
Yeah, for Liverpool at home, I was on the bench, but then in the Everton game, I came in, where we got the 2-2 at home against Everton.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today when I was trying to, and I've only just written that down. I thought to myself, I forgot that little bit. I meant to ask him. Played because we did a session with Dickov, Matt Smith, and Jose Baxter.
Oh, big Jose.
Yeah.
Is he in the States now? He's in the States, isn't he, Jose?
He is. He's in Minnesota, Tennessee.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it is, and what have you. And I think they played the first game. I don't know what the date. 16th of July, the season starts.
Jose's does.
Yeah.
Oh, does it? I did see it gone out there. I didn't know if they were back playing yet or not, because obviously.
No. I think he's played a couple of games. I think they lost the first game and then they had the close down.
Yeah.
And they lost the last season's champions.
Yeah.
And he said they were winning 2-0 and they lost 4-2. And he said, I can't believe we lost that game, because he was very competitive, Jose, wasn't he?
He was definitely. He was probably one of the most talented players I've come across as well.
Yes, he was. And we talked about that with Dean Furman, and he said we used to have, like, Matt were around and things like that. He said, and there were me and Wes doing the dirty work at the back, and we used to just give the ball to Jose.
Yeah, that's all you had to do, and he would cause the problems for the other team.
Yes, he seriously did. And everybody I've spoken to, all around the Dickov era and Jose, when he was at Oldham, have said what a talent he was.
He was definitely one of the most, even now, even to the level I've come to now, he's still one of the most talented players I played with.
Yeah, he was. Came from Everton, came to Oldham, he's tuning into us and following us a little bit at the moment, so, he's trying to get me one of them dodgy boxes so I can watch any game I want.
It's not surprised me. Of all the people you could have said, it's Jose doing that.
A couple of times now. There's only Jose I'd be able to do that. But, and a real character, wasn't he? And around the dressing room and what have you.
Yeah, we had a few of them. Him and Crofty together were a nightmare. Yeah,
well, Crofty has avoided me at the moment.
All right, I'll get him on. I'll make sure he gets on for you. I seen him not so long ago in the Trafford Centre. He's a full-time dad now.
Yes, he's building a house as well, apparently.
Yeah, but
I'll tell everybody. And what have you. But I do want to get Lee on, because he, whilst he wasn't a permanent player at all, he was at the club three times.
Yeah.
3 loan spells, and one very, very successful one under Ryan Talbot. Mm-hmm. And so you can have an hammer at him, tell him I want him, and tell him I can have him on with Robbie Simpson.
Yeah, we'll get one together. I'm surprised Crofty's building a house, because he never spent a penny in his life. He was the tightest man I've ever seen.
All right, can we go live with that?
Yeah. I think he was on about 10 times my contract, and I was still paying for his dinner if he went out.
Well, there you go. Well, there were great times at Boundary Park, believe it or not. You know,
Yeah, they were. They were.
we've had a lot of great times over the years, more than a lot of little clubs, you know. When
Absolutely.
you think about it. And I mean, Wickham got promoted into the Championship.
Which is incredible. It's an incredible achievement.
It is, but would they have got promoted, and this is no disrespect to Wickham, if they'd have played a full season?
Maybe not, but they definitely took advantage of it, haven't they?
Fun?
They definitely took advantage of it.
Yes, they have, and they're there, and I'm surprised that they beat Carl Robinson's Oxford.
Yeah, because they played some good football.
Yes, they do.
But as I said, as probably Tony would probably back up yourself, as I say, technical and tactical takes you so far. But from what I've seen of Wickham, mentally, they're probably one of the strongest teams I've seen. Resolute, hard-working, and willing to do anything to win. And I think you've seen that in these playoff games from what I've seen.
I often say that to Paul Murray, the best game he's ever played in his life was at Wickham when he was playing for Ian Dowie.
Oh, yeah.
Scored in the first minute, went straight down the middle. Did you ever play for Dowie? No. Or was he pre you or after you?
When Ian Dowie was manager, I played with Ian Dowie's son for Oldham's under-10s, I think it would have been at the time. He had a son.
Right.
He had a son called Ollie, and he used to come and watch on like, say, a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning, whenever it was. Ian Dowie used to come down and watch his son play in our team.
Well, there you go.
Before my time.
His brother became more or less the chief scout at Oldham, didn't he?
Did he? Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yes, he did. He was around, and one or two of the players that we brought in from the south of England from non-league was down to his brother.
Who was it? Any players that I'd know?
Ooh, I forgot who they were now.
Put you on the spot there, Roy, didn't I? Is that not on your notes?
No. Hey, that's all there is. Stab points. I have a memory, but don't forget, I've been at Oldham for 57 seasons.
I know.
There's been a lot of players coming and going.
You remember more than I do anyway. My memory's useless with football.
Tarky, thank you very much. All right.
Yeah, my pleasure.